Welcome back, peeps and creeps, fam and crew. Today we're looking at an obscure tape. It's called Obstruction of Justice from 1996. The Mena Connection. It's from Integrity Films. Doesn't even have a barcode on it. Approximate running time 60 minutes. Now this is something. This isn't even. This movie is like so pushed back and hidden and like pretty much shadow banned that you can't even find. It's not even listed on IMDb. So I actually ordered this tape not that long ago from eBay. I'd seen it. It used to be on YouTube a long time ago, which is where I first watched it back before they banned actual truth and stuff on YouTube. But I've actually ripped this, and you can find it in its entirety on my channels because it's an important story. Now, it's about the death of two boys. Two teenage boys stumble upon a major drug smuggling operation. The boys are brutally murdered and their bodies placed on railroad tracks to give the appearance of a train accident. Now, I first actually do remember hearing about this story on an episode of Unsolved Mysteries back in the late 80s. About two boys hit by a train. Supposedly they'd smoked so much marijuana that they fell asleep on the train tracks and got hit by the train. The crazy part is, according to a book I read on it, that one of the boys' fathers was actually worked for the railroad, and he would have been on the train that hit his son's body had he not had that night off or something like that. Whether that's just just a wives' tale, I don't know. But Linda Ives, Gene Duffy, Chief John Brown, a bunch of people in here. Now, this is a weird thing. It goes into a lot of different stuff, but it's a true story. Whether or not you believe what the mother, Linda Ives here, she's a fantastic woman who's actually passed on. But she never believed the story that her son and his friend just smoked so much weed that they passed it on the railroad tracks. There's a lot of weird inconsistencies, and there's this guy named who supposedly was trying to help her out and defend her and bring forth justice and all that. It turns out that guy, I won't say his name, turned out to be actually involved in drug running as well. It's this whole thing about government corruption. So obviously, soon thereafter, half a dozen witnesses to the crime are found dead. Another mysteriously vanished. Others are put away in prison on false charges. Why were numerous county, state, and federal government investigations blocked? Why was a 30-month federal grand jury investigation abruptly shut down? Why did the FBI tell one boy's grieving parents, you should accept the fact that a crime has not been committed? The story of murder, drugs, corruption, and cover-ups involves high-ranking government officials reaching up to the most powerful office in the world. It shows that interference from sinister political allies continues to protect these criminals from prosecution. This is also a real-life drama of heroes who for the first time come forward to tell their complete stories. Hear the truth from a crusading mother who refused to be deterred from finding those guilty of murdering her son, the head of a drug task force who in fear for her life was forced into hiding, a lone homicide detective who risked his life and refused to give up on the case. Now there's a book called The Boys on the Tracks by Mara Leverett that I read maybe 20 years ago. That is all about this case and all the weird inconsistencies and the cover-ups and the shadiness of some majority of the authority members involved. It happened in the 80s when Bill Clinton was governor of Arkansas, and it connects to drug smuggling operations into Mena, Arkansas, that Barry Seal was doing for the CIA. If you've ever seen the movie what was it called? American something, with Tom Cruise. He plays Barry Seal, who's a plane operator who smuggled drugs into the United States, into Mena, Arkansas, and then flew with weapons out. So it's this whole ordeal. The George Young story of Blow connects to it a little bit because he's running drugs into Arkansas as well. It's a crazy story. 30 plus years, almost 30 years later, or is it 30 plus? Yeah, 30 plus years later, there's still no truth. Linda Ives, the mother of Don Ives, fought for years to get the truth out, but she passed on, I think, maybe 10 years ago or 4 or 5 years ago. I forget. But it's a really weird story. I mean, you have to be sort of a conspiratorial mind to understand it, or to believe it. But it's a really interesting case. It's kind of like the West Memphis 3 case in Arkansas as well, that some people believe it happened one way. Most of the proof says it happened a different way. Again, there's a book on it called The Boys on the Tracks by Mara Leverett, who also wrote The Devil's Knot, about the West Memphis 3 trials, West Memphis 3 murder case. Nevertheless, it's definitely an interesting watch. It's an interesting piece to have in the collection, being that I've followed the story for a long time. There's some really good documentaries, YouTube creator documentaries about it. One channel called Carnage on Ice did a long form series about this and about the Barry Seal connection, so be sure to check those out. As always, let me know if you guys know anything about this case. Let me know if you know anything about the West Memphis 3 case, which is another case that I've been very interested in my entire life. So like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.